We had gotten beat, but Kirby did not give us the last chance, last best chance to win. You don't go for it on fourth down with a fake field goal with 11 damn yards for the first down. Yeah, a fake punt, Henry. Yeah, a fake punt with 11 damn yards.
Okay, folks, it's been an exciting ball game right here in Conyers, Georgia. One of the best tailgate ball game party right here. Alabama was down, but Alabama came back to defeat the Georgia Bulldogs tonight. Folks, hang on. We're going to have a show for you right now. We got Big Time. We got Ike. And we got Henry. Henry walked in, come late to the party, but Henry, we're going to get your take on the game tonight in a minute. I'm going to go to the boys, and I'm going to come back and give you a summary on this ball game. Alabama, victorious over the Georgia Bulldogs with a final score. Alabama 35, Georgia 28. Big Time, we going to you first, Georgia fan. What's your take on the ball game?
Roll Tide!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say, I'm a little sad right now. You know, it was a tough game. It was a very, very tough game, and we had a great chance to win it. But unfortunately, we did not. We're gonna get into the details of it, but I'm gonna let the others have they say first before we get into the details of what happened here.
Well, hey, I'll start this off because, you know, like Brother Mills just now said here, I told him one thing when he thought that Tulula, he was hurt. And yes, he was struggling, he was hurt. But you got to understand, we have a gentleman and Hurts, the backup quarterback who has led this Alabama team to so many wins and only has max maybe 2 losses. And you think that he can't come in and carry this team? He came and did an excellent job. He passed a touchdown. He ran a touchdown. The man did his job. Now he is in the backup role. He came in here and did his job and came and brought this team from behind and helped lead Alabama to a win. So, you know, I'm going to sit here and put a shout out to Hurts. And, you know, this team has right now they're undefeated. They're gonna play in the championship. Right now, you know, they're number 1. And, you know, and Georgia put up a violent fight. I knew this game was going to be close. I said this at the start of the show, that this game will be a close game. This game will be a close game, which I knew, and Georgia came and gave it their all. However, you know, there was some momentum switch at certain parts of the game, and Georgia, you know, they wasn't able to capitalize. Now, we will question some of the calls that made at the end of the game. I think that is when it's 4th and 11. Probably, I don't know if he gave enough confidence in his defense. Yeah, I don't think he gave enough confidence in his defense because at this time, I believe that Alabama, with a shift in momentum, with Hurts coming into the game, maybe he believed that he could not stop the Mr. Hurst there. But I'm going to turn this back over to, you know, Dennis the Menace and let him go and finish up and let him get his output on there. But, you know, again, like I had to say, Roll Tide!
Okay, folks, okay, it's been a hot Texas ball game. Put it on me. We are live on Facebook right now. We in Conyers, Georgia. One of the best after the game parties over here. We had a room full of people, and you just had to be here. If you guys watching on Facebook, we're live on the Mic is Hot. My friends out there that knows about the Mic is Hot, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, iHeartRadio, some more outlets out there. Let me read some stats to you from this ball game. Of course, the score was 35-28 Alabama. Alabama had a total of 21 first down. Georgia 23. Total yards 454 yards for Georgia, and only 403 for Alabama. Passing yards 301 for Georgia. 246 for Alabama. I mean, these yards are off a little bit, but it seemed like Georgia should have won. But I think the biggest factor in this ball game was time of possession. Of course, in the first half of the ball game, we were saying Georgia had 20-something time of possession, and Alabama only had 10. This ball game, Georgia remained with 35 minutes of possession. Alabama, 24 minutes. The difference in this ball game, what do you believe? Big time. We're gonna take it to you and let you talk a little bit. I'm I'm getting feedback over here, so I'm making. Well, we got some comments over there, Ike. If we got comments, I want to call out the people that's commenting on the show.
Well, look like what the numbers reflect is that it was a pretty even. When the numbers pan out for the whole game, they were pretty much an evenly played game, with Georgia having a slight edge in most areas. However, when you look at the difference in this game, it clearly came down to the Jalen Hurts. I do not believe the game would have been the same if Jalen Hurts had not came in the game. It was a situation. Listen. I'm giving the facts as they are. I mean,
you wasn't talking this way the first half of the ball game.
No. I gotta keep it real right now because we just got beat, and there clearly, as the fans will hear, not a lot of excitement in my voice, but I'm being factual about what has happened. The game simply boiled down to Jalen Hurts coming in the game, making a difference, energizing them on offense. Georgia had their opportunities, but it just didn't pan out. Ladies and gentlemen, what we just witnessed was the best team won. Now, let me add one point. Kirby Smart made a huge mistake at the end, trying to go for a first down instead of punting the ball when he had 11 yards to go to get the first down. Now, it would have probably been a lot more difficult for Alabama to have driven the length of the field to get in field goal range, and that I don't know whether they would have had enough time to do it, but it is what it is. Alabama still beat Georgia. Georgia will get a high bid for a bowl game, and they have to feel proud about the way their season ended. 11-2 isn't pretty bad, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Let me lean on this note. Georgia has many more good years to come.
Well, I can agree with you on that. Georgia looked well in this ball game. When you're playing the number one team in the country, I mean, we expect a little more from Alabama from the start of this ball game. But I'm getting a little feedback here. There we go. When you're playing the number one team in the country, you expect a little bit more. And Georgia came out and did what they had to do at the first part of the ball game. They came out and hit hard. They took the lead and maintained the lead for most of the ball game. They actually threw Alabama off. But I think one of the biggest things in this ball game was the loss of their starting quarterback to Luke Tololo. What's his name? And once they lost him, I think I spoke to you at the end of the first half, and I said they got to take this kid out, because it was affecting his throwing. He was throwing the ball behind players. He could not scramble, and I think Georgia knew that it was a handicap for them, and they took advantage of it, and they maintained the ball game. And once they brought Jalen Hurts in the ball game, he made the difference in the ball game. He was able to scramble, and now that was something Georgia had to do. Before, we didn't have a quarterback scrambling outside the pocket, and Hurts. This was big for him because last year they took him out the ball game and put Tololo, I can't pronounce this kid's name. They put him in the ball game, and he won the game national championship. So it was a big win for Alabama fans. It was a great game, and it was not a dull moment in the ball game, because at no point in the ball game you saw one team winning the game. Even though Alabama was down 2 touchdowns, you knew that those Crimson Tide could come back at any time, which they did. I think one of the highlights of the ball game, contributing factors to Georgia losing this ball game, was missing that field goal. I think that field goal was something that if they'd have made the field goal, momentum-wise and point-wise, it could have put them in a different position. But we're going to get you back in this thing and get your opinion on this, and I'm going to read some more stats once we do that. Let me get you back on the mic over here. You come over here, just pick up a mic. Do we have any comments over there, Ike? Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to keep sitting here beating a dead horse. Like I said before, I believe it was going to be a good, close fight. I do believe that Georgia has an outstanding defense. believe they did a very good job on the first string quarterback. They did a very good job on the first string quarterback. However, when they got to him, he got hurt. They went back to their original starter that was from the past, and he showed why he has won so many different games. I mean, he's a winner. I mean, he has lost probably maybe 2 games in his whole collegiate career. So, just to summarize all that.
Painful in the big time.
Yeah. To summarize all that, I mean, what could Georgia do? He came and he threw for a touchdown, and he ran for a touchdown at critical moments of this game. When he scored on times that they actually needed this, and this was probably a very good momentum for Alabama, and truthfully showing that even to their playoffs, when they go into the playoffs, that they can still prevail with this individual, Hurts. They can still prevail with him. Alabama's showing that even though we go down with our starting quarterback, he goes down, but we are strong enough to sit there and still prevail and win. Now, I'll take all hats off because I truly believe that Georgia is among the 4 best teams in the league, but unfortunately, they're both in the same conference. I believe that they need to probably need to expand this playoffs to an 8.
I totally agree. That's something I've been saying for years because the way they actually get a chance to see all the talent, because Georgia's a talented team. It's going to be sad that this team is not going to be in the championship round. I don't think anybody will play Alabama the way Georgia did today. In the playoffs or the championship game. What do you say, Big Time?
Well, given that the way they played them, do you believe that the selection committee should give Georgia some credit for how they played them and put them in that playoff selection? You have according to what happened to Ohio State. Say if Ohio State lost the game today, and Oklahoma, both of those teams would have the same record as Georgia. 11-2. Why not Georgia then be put in the BCS selection because they played the number 1 team the way they did?
Well, hold on. Let me go on step on in here real fast. Right. Actually, Oklahoma actually won, so that's going to be null and void. But again, that's why we need to open this up. I believe the NCAA needs to open this up to an 8-team league because. Just like in professional football, if you win your conference, you should have a chance. And we're talking about Big 5 conferences. So meaning that the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, the Pac-10, even though they're not playing as well, and the SEC, all of them should be in the playoff rounds.
Right, I agree.
Okay, now if you have an 8, then this way you can probably put somebody like Notre Dame. You probably put somebody like Notre Dame. You can also put someone like other teams that, like, say, put it this way, Georgia, they didn't win, but you could put Georgia in. Let's say another team like maybe Texas, somebody that's down there, or I'm gonna even put one even better, somebody at UCF, Central Florida, who's undefeated, who still plays a good game, but they don't play the top game.
Right,
they go undefeated.
I agree.
So this way, they could probably be the 8th seed, and they should have every right to play for the national championship. Because this will be 2 years straight that they go undefeated. I think even more so, this is why it should expand to an 8-team playoff.
I agree. Well, I mean, and that way during their playoff, I mean, we can eliminate those teams that feel like, I think last year, they considered themselves a national championship because they were undefeated and they won that bowl game. But again, like you said before, that team doesn't compare with an Alabama or Georgia or Notre Dame or something like that, and nobody really wants to see a game like that. I mean, if Alabama had to play a U.S. UCF.
And matter of fact,
and even though they're undefeated,
Well, I'm going to even go back a little further. Remember, years ago, this is when Alex Smith was the quarterback for Utah. Utah goes undefeated. Okay, they don't get to play for the national championship. They're undefeated. But guess what team they played in the playoffs and won? They beat Alabama. I mean,
Okay.
so that my point is this: even though they are a lower conference and they're playing in a fairly decent conference, but they go undefeated, maybe they might be the 8th seed because of their strength of conference. But if you can get 5. If you can get 5 of the Big 5 conferences, if you get 5 of the Big 5 conference, let's say that someone else like Georgia makes it, that makes it 6. Let's say that someone else like Notre Dame, who's not in the conference, make it, that's number 7. And then somebody that be deserving like UCF, who is Central Florida, who is undefeated and who has now went 24-0. That has every right. Now we will not have this controversy. Who is the best team in the nation?
Right.
So
Let me add a comment right quick. Sherry's watching, and Sherry, I know you're watching right now. We have a technical difference with the telephone, so I can't take phone calls. But you can send text in. Big Time is holding the camera right now, and he smiled when he saw your name on there because I think it's a blessing for him for you not to get a chance to tell him about the tie, which we've been trying to tell him the whole ball game. And you guys out there looking, you can also text in or send your comment in, and we're going to talk about it live on the air right here on the Mic is Hot. But Sherry, go ahead and send some information in. I'm going to read some more stats right here. Ike and Eddie's going to talk a little bit more about the ball game. Let me go over some stats right quick while they get their thoughts together. Again, you talking Ike. Okay. Alabama had 403 total yards to Georgia's 445 yards. Huh? Oh, yeah, okay. I thought you were talking to me, man. Georgia had enough yards to win the ball game. Of course, in the second half of the ball game, I would say even the fourth quarter of the ball game made a big turnaround. But Georgia scored enough yards and total yards to win the ball game. Alabama had two turnovers. Georgia had 0. First down, again, Alabama had 21 first down. Georgia had 23. And again, we said time of possession was in the favor of Georgia, 35 minutes and 30 seconds, to Alabama, 24 minutes and 30 seconds. I mean, if you look at these stats, you would think that Georgia won the ball game, and they had a chance to win the ball game. I think, again, I said before, I think the contributing factor was when Jalen Hurts come to the ball game. Sherry, you would agree with me. We talk about this all the time. Jalen Hurts should have been in the ball game. This guy's only lost 1 or was it two ball games in his whole career, and I think this was very big for him to be able to come back and play the same team that they took him out and didn't give him a chance to win the ball game. So kudos, Jalen Hurts, and we love it. I mean, Sherry, she got some comments on there. You want to give what you're saying on there?
Well, let me add. I mean, again, it's a sad moment for me, but you cannot overcome 2 All-American quarterbacks compared to one. Dennis just said something that was so thought-provoking, where you have the same quarterback that was replaced in the championship game last year, came back and replaced that quarterback in an indirect way. He redeemed himself.
Exactly.
There is no reason, ladies and gentlemen, for the Georgia Bulldogs as a team, as fans, to down their head. I'm proud of the year that my team has had. I don't like Alabama. I wish them to death. Yes, I said everybody.
Well,
forget
I'm
Alabama and Nick Saban.
I'm going to shine a little bit for Sherry. I know if Sherry was here, she'd be telling you the same thing. We told you before the ball game that Georgia was going to lose this ball game. Now, I ain't said it was going to be close. I said Alabama win by 2 touchdowns. They only won by 1. You were very hyped up. I wish I had video footage of you the first half of the ball game, jumping around the room and talking trash and calling Nick Saban names and whatever. But, hey, you know what? Don't ever count it. I think you said before, there's 2 people in sports you don't bet against. Who are they?
Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
I didn't tell him to say that, but he know that. He watches this team. He watches Alabama. He know. But I think deep down inside. But I do want to remind you, big time is normally right. When he sit down and go to the lab and look at the stats and see what's going on, hey, it was close. You were almost right, but almost not good enough.
Yeah, well, I'm also oftentimes play the devil's advocate, and I did it a little bit in this game, and not to say I'm changing what I thought, but there's always a lot of, when you're going against teams like Alabama, you there's a part of your heart that just want something to happen when you, in many ways, know there's a great chance it won't happen. The game is never over as long as the Tide is on the field. It's not so much what Nick Saban does, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's just the fact that they have the opportunity to have in their classes the best players around the country, all over the country.
And we said this before. We always talk about when you
I don't know
Saban,
when it's going to end. Maybe if someone would cause some harm. I don't mean
call
to
what?
say.
What you say, man?
I don't mean to say.
Get out of here, man. Let me say this. You saying the wrong thing now, man. Listen, what Nick Saban does, one thing, he is a very honest person. He looks out for his players. And when you win, number one factor, when you got a team that continues to win, everybody wants to win. That's why top players all around the country wants to come to Alabama. Now, Kirby Smart, he's getting that way now. Some players that could not go to Alabama would love to come to Georgia, and some players that could will still go to Georgia. So in the next few years, Georgia's getting better and better. I was surprised that they were as good as they were this year. I thought Georgia wouldn't be as good as they were last year. In the beginning of the season, I didn't think I would see this game that we saw tonight.
Well, the rumor is that Georgia will have their best team next year.
Why is that?
Because the class of guys that's coming in are the best class that they have been able to select since Kirby Smart has been the coach. Keep in mind, this is Kirby Smart's third year. And they will, coming up in his fourth year, he would have the best class. He's essentially getting still, this is last class, seniors, is the last class of what was there when Mark Richt was there.
Right.
So he would this coming up year. This will be his first class to have his full squad.
Okay.
And we will have a much better team. So that's why I'm not sad about it. I wanted us to win. I believe we could have won.
Well, you tried to put us out, man.
But it just did not happen.
He said he's not sad, but he told us how many times did he tell us to get out, man?
Well, I got to piggyback off of one thing. Because you were sitting here just now ripping, and I'm sure everybody listening and looking at the mic, you was just ripping Kirby Smart, right? And you're just sitting there saying that Kirby Smart has made a basically almost like a bonehead move going for 4th and 11 when he's trying to win. But listen what this man has done for y'all. 2 years straight, he has took y'all to the SEC championship, right? So I mean, you're complaining about that. This is a man that's only been in. This is going to be his third year. Yeah, his third year.
Roll Tide.
And look what he has done. So you can't knock this man, and he coming from the Alabama tree. This is the student.
That's true.
This is the student trying to beat the teacher.
Say it again.
The student trying to beat the teacher.
It ain't gonna happen.
Okay. Well, hold on. Sometimes it does happen, but it ain't gonna happen right away. It never happens right away. When a student tried to beat this teacher, don't get me wrong now. Don't get me wrong. Kobe Bryant. I'm gonna say here and say this. Let me go and say that. Kobe Bryant's dad had made it to the NBA, right? And he was good, right? But who's the better player, Kobe Bryant's dad or Kobe Bryant? At some time, the student might surpass his teacher. I'm not saying that it'll never happen, because matter of fact, we can even go all the way back to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan could never be his brother. Has his brother played in the NBA? No. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team. So you can't knock Kirby. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't agree with the call he did, but if he felt that, hey, we got to take this opportunity. We got to take this gamble. Because if he made it, then y'all would have said, oh, my goodness, that was a gutsy call. So I'm not going to knock Kirby because, see, right now, Nick Saban already has his multiple trophies.
Yes.
Kirby is trying his
To get his
best.
first.
He's trying his best to get Georgia in that position. And however, one thing you can say, and I'm going to defend Kirby a little bit, that he is at least putting y'all in the position. The position. Because, let's say if Jalen Hurts would have botched it off, he'd been putting pressure onto the previous quarterback, Tulio, and they did their job on him. However, you do have a second-string quarterback who used to be the first-string quarterback come over and just take over the game. He did his job. His job was to keep the ball rolling. He ran a touchdown. He threw a touchdown. And the final outcoming was that Alabama prevailed. But however, you can't really knock Kirby. We can question all that. We can also question some of his guys. Maybe some of his guys should have caught certain passes. Some of his guys should have executed certain plays or made certain tackles. Prevented. Look,
you rubbing them kind of thick. This guy's over here hurting, and you putting it on kind of thick. Let me get comments on. I got a couple people online. Sherry says, "Who let the dogs out?" And Jalen got his redemption. KB is watching. Rhonda's watching. We see you guys out there, and just throw your comments up, and I'll make sure I hit on it. Again, we having some technical difficulties when it comes to plugging the phone in. You guys call in, but if you type it in, I'll say it.
Well, one of the things I am as a fan and as an analyst, I'm fair in my call, win, lose, or draw. I can't control the outcome. When I saw Nick Saban, speaking after the game, the man, if I recall correctly, he was almost sound like he had tears in his eyes or in his voice because he knew. He got away with one because Alabama was playing horrible early. Georgia should have had a much better, a larger lead, when the game in the second half. And you remember I kept saying,
right,
my concern was at halftime what Nick Saban said to his guys, and it proved to be correct. And I'm not trying to say it to give myself credit,
right,
but the Alabama defense came out and played a much better game in the second half. Georgia scored one touchdown the entire second half.
Right.
They essentially shut Georgia down.
And I would say this, in rebuttal to what you just said, Alabama has been there before. They're used to that. They've been to 3-4 national championship back after back, playoff games, wins, and these guys are used to that kind of pressure. I mean, even though it's Georgia, and we said before, this Mercedes-Benz Stadium is the second home for Alabama. If I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, they played the first game in that stadium and they won. So it's not like they on the road. They don't play up under pressure when they're on the road anyway. Georgia is, like I said, one of the toughest games they played this year. And if you ask me, it's going to probably be the toughest game they play. This should be the national championship game because whoever they play, Notre Dame or what's the other team they played in the playoff, I don't think they're going to play as well as Georgia did.
Oklahoma.
And what I think I said earlier, what were you saying? I was thinking about the team. You asked a question about Alabama. I mean, Georgia should be in the playoff system because they probably one of the better teams in the system.
Well, they are, but you got to give count to the fact that if Oklahoma, as he said, won today, then Oklahoma still has only one loss.
Right.
And Georgia now has two losses. So you can't pick the Final Four teams.
Right.
And when you have a two-loss team in there, when you have a one-loss team, even though Georgia played Alabama where the rankings should give them a lot of credibility.
Right.
It's a difficult loss. We go into a bowl game, and as Ike said, I like our future. Kirby Smart is doing something that haven't been done in Georgia in years.
Exactly.
And he is continuing to recruit big guys from all around the country.
Right.
He's continuing to get close. Every year, even last year, even though it's just hurting right now for us to have lost twice to the same doggone team. Doom Alabama. It is going to be over. You cannot win forever. And when you lose, you're going to lose. You're going to go down eventually.
So what you're trying to say is that now we have talked in the past, and you enjoy watching the Alabama game, or what you're telling me you enjoy watching the Alabama game, cheering for them to lose.
Amen. That I am. Alabama has dominated college football over the years.
Uh-huh.
You know, I watched the Ties as a child.
Right.
As a young person, I'll say it that way.
Uh-huh.
And they won back then, and right now they're winning now, and I want Georgia to do that. So until you be the best, you got to beat the best.
I agree with that.
And I believe our times are coming. We are getting closer, guys.
And I would have to agree with you on that. I believe your time is coming, but like I said, it's not tonight. Unfortunately, it wasn't tonight. And I think Nick Saban, one of the things, I think we talked about this before, he is trying to get that lead over Bear Bryant. He's trying to get the most national championship. I believe once he accomplishes that goal, he might move on maybe to the NFL or he might retire or something like that. But right now, Nick Saban don't want to lose. But one thing I'm going to say about this ball game here, I'm not saying this is the reason they played so lax in the first half, but Nick always said this is a wasted ball game. And I can agree with him to a certain extent, but if you think about it, for the Alabama Crimson Tide, win, lose, or draw, they still was going to be in the playoff. So what was the reason? You got your quarterback hurt, and it's going to affect your team in the playoffs and the championship. Yeah, so it really wasn't anything good for Alabama in this ball game. But like I said, if they won or lost, it still would have been the same.
Yeah, and see where Alabama is at right now is that the only way their season would be complete if they win the championship, and we're not guaranteed that that's going to happen. You know, they are 13-0, but they still got to play one of the other 4 teams in the playoff, as well as if they get to the championship.
Right.
So if you don't make it to the championship and win it, you would have literally had a disappointing season because your expectation to where you are as a team should be you walk away with the champion.
Right.
And guess what? Having said that, I'm rooting for Alabama to lose.
Woo! I mean, this kid, man. I mean, hey, we're gonna get the mic back to Ike again. I let Mike Ike can get his comment on there because he said wrap it up. We got more comments on there. I want to make sure we got a guest speaker, Henry. Henry, come on in the room. We want to give you your input on that. We know that you're a Georgia fan, and we want to make sure that you give us your opinion on how you feel about the game. So let us know, what do you think of this ball game? Even though your team lost, do you have respect for Alabama?
Well, first of all, I want to introduce everybody to our guest speaker here, Mr. George here. Look, I'm going to let him go and take over the mic. But again, I got to sit here and end this show with saying, Roll Tide. So, all right. But Howard, let me turn this over to brother George so he can go ahead and end this session.
May the best team win. I have to stick behind my brother there. He's the Greek of the of football. I have to go with him, but nonetheless, he lost tonight. But Georgia's got they got plenty more opportunities in the future, and I think eventually, if they keep playing like they played tonight, they'll eventually be a winner. May the best team win.
Well, Henry, one thing you said is true. The best team did win. That's the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So these guys are. I think my Georgia fans are tired of talking, but it was no lack of energy during this ball game. But I'm not going to hold them. I'm going to wrap this show up. I think Sherry said she got a show coming up, and I would love for her to call me or whatever, and I'd love to comment during her show. Just want to remind everybody. The final score of the ball game, I think I said this about 3 or 4 times in the ball game, right? Alabama 35, Georgia 28. If you guys don't have any other comments, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Do you have any comments? Anything you want to say before we log out? Big time.
Well, I said, as I said earlier, we got one more championship game in the Mercedes-Benz starting next week, and that will be for the soccer. At Atlanta United has a chance to win the championship. Let's keep our fingers crossed. And not jinx the city. We need a championship of some sort.
We need one. Georgia, Atlanta need one. They need it bad. Good luck. Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays from Conyers, Georgia, guys. We'll see you next time on The Mic is Hot. Tell a friend that The Mic is Hot right now. And we'll see you next time on The Mic is Hot. I'm D, Eddie, Ike, and Henry. And we out.